So how many black guys do you think fought during the Battle of Hastings in Sussex, England, nearly a millennium ago? Before you give some flip answer, I want you to take a look at the participants. But before we do that, hi, everybody. I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Wow. Okay. So, gentlemen, on the one side, as you may know, you had the Normans led by their Duke, William. And Normans were partially Frankified Vikings who had been invited to settle in France in 911. On the other side, you had the English, descended from Anglo-Saxons and Utes from northern Germany, led by their just crowned king, Harold Godwinson. So, okay. Now that you know that everybody was just lily white, go ahead and give me your flip answer. And I'll pretend like I heard it. Mine is, those armies were whiter than the all-albino Osmonds tribute band, which we're going to pretend is a thing. But not to the BBC, whose new miniseries, King and Conqueror, features a diverse group of actors telling the story of Harold and William's fight for the English throne. Bill, in 1066, the Normans weren't quite French. The English wouldn't be recognizably English to modern ears. But to be fair, today's England, where Mohammed is now the most common baby boy's name, and that is a fact for the last couple of years now, today's England would hardly be recognizable to a time traveler from just 50 years ago. So it's my theory, and maybe you'll correct me if I'm wrong here, that the BBC is basically retconning history to make the unmaking of Britain seem normal.
How can you say such a thing? I recently saw either on the BBC or certainly it's becoming widely circulated that it was blacks that built Stonehenge. So, and I'm not joking.
Really?
So after the blacks had built Stonehenge, I imagine they migrated to the coast and became Harold's army. So I guess it was probably about 50-50, the white Normans and the black Anglo-Saxons.
It's all clear now.
Britain, was it the BBC that just recently did Richard III with a black woman as Richard III? No, I'm pretty sure it was the BBC.
Yeah.
Now look,
I'd forgotten
look.
about that one until you mentioned it. Yeah, that was them.
In Shakespeare has been interpreted in so many different ways in so many different settings. In Shakespeare, it's an artistic statement. Okay,
Shakespeare is meant. It's for the stage. It's meant to be.
And Shakespeare is for everybody,
yes,
and for all times and all ages. So that's what it is. But when you start making documentaries, it seems ridiculous to people who know the actual history of this. But the people who are growing up watching the BBC, this will be the history for them. That's exactly what they're doing. They're retconning.
Can you define that term? Because I'm a rookie. I don't know what that means.
Sure. You want to take it, Steve? It's
sure.
Retroactive.
Retroactive continuity. Like a story has a continuity, but then you retroactively go back and change it to suit the current needs of whatever your movie series is or whatever.
Right. So
it
basically,
came from comic books.
Right. So retroactive continuity, retconning is rewriting history, and it's possible for people who grew up with real history to recognize that, we're looking at a retcon version of history. But if that's what you start with, then that's what your belief system is. And this is really becoming a major thing. I'm seeing it out there everywhere, where the New World was actually discovered by Moors. That sub-Saharan Africans discovered the New World, and look, history is history, and things that actually happen, and to start messing around with that and start deciding what you think should have happened rather than what actually happened is dangerous. What was it? I should have this quote memorized, but George Orwell in 1985 said, "He who controls the present controls the past, and he who controls the past controls the future." Is that what it was?
He who controls the past controls the present, I believe, or the future. I can't remember either.
Whatever it is,
somebody needs to get control of the past.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yes.
The point is that when you start rewriting your nation's history, you are rewriting the nation's future, because you are no longer you are no longer telling the story of what actually happened to get you from the past to the present. You know, I have played around with the idea that 200-300 years from now, they're going to be telling about the first story of the moon landing when, you know, with Apollo 11, when Nell Armstrong stepped off of the LEM and she planted the flag on the lunar surface,
The rainbow flag.
Yeah, I was about to say it wasn't an American flag.
No, the rainbow flag, exactly. And I'm not joking either. I mean, that's a little bit too close to the truth of what we're seeing to make me comfortable. So yes, I saw something yesterday where it was some European battle, and they had a number of black soldiers in the front line there, and it's like, you know, inclusivity is fine. Like I said, in interpreting Shakespeare, they did like A Midsummer Night's Dream or something, you know, and the Duke of Orlando or whatever is you know, sure, is played by, you know, that's fine. That's theater. That's
Shakespeare is art, not history.
Correct. And neither the twain shall meet, or else dire consequences are going to happen. But yes, the BBC, look, the last words in Western civilization, if it were to fall, are going to be delivered by a very Tony BBC announcer in received pronunciation, announcing that this horrible cancer on society has finally come to an end. You know, yeah. So these people have to be fought because the fish rots from the head down, and it's always the elites who lose faith in their civilization and are so bored that the only adventure left for them is to watch it burn.
Yeah. Oh, what a shame. And as for Shakespeare, he was so open to interpretation, he didn't even give any stage directions except for a character exits or a character enters the stage. That was nice. It. Everything else was left up to the producer, director, and actors to figure out on their own. I love Shakespeare precisely for that reason. So it's not like I don't want to mix things up. I do. But I think if you're telling history,
it's a whole different story, man.
You have to tell the history. Scott, let's go to you now. You could be, I think, more generous, kind in your estimations about pop culture stuff, certainly more than I am on occasion. So do you think I've gone overboard on my interpretation of this? And when it comes to historical entertainment, where do you draw the line on believability?
Well, it's an interesting idea, and it depends, I think, on what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, clearly, if you're saying that this is a documentary, you know, it is how it was, and you want to portray it as accurately as possible, then it would seem your casting decisions have something to do with how you portray that. I guess my first thought when you started introducing it was, are they doing this in whiteface? I mean, and my second thought was, well, are they good at playing white guys? Because you know who was really good at playing white guys? Eddie Murphy. I would see Eddie Murphy do this because he can do a white guy better than I can do a white guy. However, you know, it's one thing when you're talking about literature, and not that I want to go to see this, but I could understand, you know, seeing Little Women with an all-male cast, or Man of Green Gables, or something like that, you know.
7 brothers for 7 brothers.
That's right. 7 husbands for 7 sisters. I don't know. Anyway, so, you know, you've got all that. I also heard an interview with David Mamet recently, who wrote Glengarry Glen Ross and a lot of other great things. He was being interviewed by Mike Rowe on Mike Rowe's podcast. And Mamet was basically saying, I want the actors to read the words that I wrote on the page. And he said, and Mike Rowe brought an analogy. He said, you know, it's kind of like when somebody's playing Mozart, you want them to play the notes.
That's right.
You know, it's like you don't want to some new thing that nobody's ever heard before and then claim that it's Mozart. So I think you're in a trickier position here. There is a way to do this and say, we have reimagined the moon landing. What if it had been all women? And we're going to play this as close to reality as we can, just to see, as a thought experiment, what it would have been like in that time to have a crew of 3 women who did the Apollo 11 thing. That's one thing. You're trying to be thought-provoking. But it's another thing to just go into it and say, okay, I want people who are watching this to believe we made a documentary that we tried to stay as close to the facts as possible. And by the way, we've cast people who couldn't possibly have been there. Nobody like them was there. Now, that said, I want to apologize on behalf of much of Christendom for portraying Jesus the way we have for many years. And I would just say that I come down on the side of John Calvin, who says you shouldn't be portraying Jesus at all. It's idolatry. But that said, everybody has seen the famous portrait of Jesus with the long, straight, perfect nose and the fair complexion and the aroma of suave strawberry shampoo wafting off of his long locks that cascade down onto his shoulders.
But Jesus, I mean, you want to talk about a universal figure. Different portrayals of him, if you're going to portray him, I don't know that that's idolatry or not. If you're going to portray him, I don't mind any culture wanting to make Jesus as much their own as they possibly can, because, I mean, that's the message, isn't it?
Yeah, they're appropriating him to basically say there's no cultural boundary. There is, as the scriptures say, there is neither Jew nor Greek. There's neither male nor female. In Christ, we are all one.
And King Harold needs this like he needs a stick in the eye.
All right.
Little historical reference for those of you out there.
We're taping this on Tuesday. I came across this story on Monday. I wrote about it for PJ Media, and it was weird because it happened just a couple of nights after my wife mentioned this show Bridgerton that she enjoys, and I remembered I tried to watch it and I didn't like it. I couldn't remember what it was about or why I didn't like it, and so she reminded me it's one of those Shonda Rhimes romances. It's set in 19th century London with this really weirdly mixed-race cast, and I remember there was some sort of alt history justification about George III marrying a black woman and establishing racial harmony. But to me, that's not alternative history, which has to be grounded in something that didn't happen but plausibly could have happened. And instead, it's fantasy. And my wife, Melissa, said, yeah, it's fantasy. That's my whole point. That's why I like it. But my opinion is it's still a period piece. And if you're going to set something in a period piece, it's going to drag me out of the story if you're not going to get the big details right. It just, I just want to go, but that's not London in 1902 or 1802, whatever it was. To me, Bridgerton is kind of like if you redid Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which is another period piece that's also a fantasy set in ancient China, but putting everybody in Viking helmets. And actually, you know what? That actually sounds kind of cool. I think I might watch that one, and I'm just kind of full of crap here. So anyway, that's your right angle on that. Brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time in Viking helmets.